The original World of Warcraft was released on November 23, 2004. Like Warcraft 3, the game had standard and collector's editions. The 2004 Collector's Edition still is extremely valuable. It included a lot of perks inside. The in-game perk is one of 3 unique pets. Currently, each of them is extremely rare. Another perk was the Behind the Scenes DVD. It was an exclusive DVD featuring game trailers and developer commentary. The most interesting part, even from a modern perspective, was the Extra Features section. This is one of the videos from the Extra Features section. With improved audio and video quality, also, subtitles in multiple languages are available. Please use the CC button to enable them. If you enjoy this video, please consider supporting Clever Play channel with a like, comment, share, or even a cup of coffee. Behind the Scenes, Part 6. Creatures.
Aside from all the player characters that you get to, play as in the game, the other huge element to populating the world was all the monsters and creatures and bad guys and mobs and whatever you want to call them, the stuff you're hunting around in the world that you're interacting with. Creating monsters is just an ongoing process. It never seems like there's really enough. Anything from the little ambient squirrels that are running around in the world to the deers that are walking around to the other monsters, the gnolls or the spiders you're hunting, all the way up to the big epic dragons and then the crazy boss monsters you're fighting. I think currently in the game we have like over 500 unique creatures. And with each creature, we have color variations. So with all the color variations that we have to choose from with these characters, there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them throughout the world. And hopefully as you're adventuring and stuff, you're finding new ones and you're just discovering all kinds of cool stuff in the game.
We had a lot of established creatures that came from the Warcraft universe, and particularly Warcraft 3, where suddenly creeps were being introduced, and that gave us more to pull from. We had gnolls and kobolds and all these cool little secondary creatures that were in the world, and that very quickly became something we wanted to key off of. In fact, probably the gnolls and kobolds were some of our early tests where we really kind of hit where we were going with the style of the creatures, about how much detail that the artist would paint in or the kinds of color palettes that would be used.
When we were able to recreate some of those key creatures, the gnoll or the kobold, spiders and other creatures like that, based off of concepts from Warcraft 3 and Warcraft 2, that really hit home for us, and we kind of knew the direction we were facing and where to keep going. So there's a lot of familiar creatures in the game. You're going to have ogres and centaurs, all kinds of stuff that is already around from the previous Warcraft games. The overarching challenge of doing this, the online role-playing game, was that it was a different perspective on a familiar franchise. So now we were having to, create these characters in a much higher resolution. You could see them from all angles, all around, and you were up close and in the face against all these monsters. So, it definitely took us a while to get on our feet and run with it. And, to learn just how much detail was enough or how much was just too much, and we didn't need to do that because we knew we had to do hundreds of them. So we needed to find that healthy balance, and so I think we did. At a glance, I think all the characters really seem to they feel like they're in the same world. All the different artists really got the similar style. Halfway in the middle, towards the end of the project, you didn't know who made what. They just all fit. They all fit with each other.
We did a lot of sort of creative reuse on the models. As our library grew, we could take more and more elements that were sort of already constructed for another creature or character, and we would realize that that was a perfect element for something new that we were doing, that we could at least reuse that. And by the time we were done, we had made sure from the artistic standpoint that it really wasn't recognizable. You didn't just feel like it was some limb slapped on from another model, but it definitely really pushed our pipeline and timeline. We could get things done much more quickly and efficiently, and it would stay at a very high quality because we could spend the time to build any one element once, like a pair of wings for a dragon or something like that. And that could be used again and again on other creatures so that it really wasn't recognizable anymore.
With a lot of our creatures, we start with a basic concept sketch, just a drawing. Sometimes it's a doodle on a napkin, sometimes it's a really nice high-resolution painting, on the computer. More times than not, there'll be dozens of drawings for the same one creature, especially early on in the project where we're really trying to, brainstorm everything in the game. We don't want to shut any idea down necessarily. And so many people, I can say I think almost all the artists on our team can concept. Everyone's always drawing, coming up with cool ideas. We definitely have people that specialize in it, but it's safe to say that, everyone's always contributing in the idea phase of designing the creatures, whether it's a established Warcraft creature or something new that we have to create to fill a new environment.
Once we had these really beautiful concepts that different people had submitted, we kind of would sift through them and find the elements that were the strongest and sort of like what the team agreed on. So we'd take those elements, maybe we'd even re-concept one last drawing of it to make sure that we liked all those elements together. And then that would get passed on to art director for approval. Once that was done, it was passed off to our meshers, and the meshers simply build the geometry that creates the 3D sculpture in the game. So after the meshing is completed on the model, it's passed on to the texture artist. This can be the same person or another person. We're pretty flexible here on the art team, and a lot of guys can do a lot of different things. So once that's passed on or ready for that next phase, the textures are applied, and the textures are simply a painting that is wrapped onto the model that creates the colors and the illusion of details and depth on the given creature or character.
So once the creatures have been modeled and textured and eventually animated, they're placed in the world, and they place them in these little groups in all the different environments, and they take a lot of care into how they place them to make them look like they're, inhabiting their surrounding areas, and that they're doing different things on their own, roaming around, patrolling, fighting all the different creatures. It's a process that requires a lot of disciplines, all the way from the concept drawing to the actual creation on the computer to the designers that put it in the game. And, eventually you're fighting it and getting the cool stuff that it has to drop off.
The pinnacle of our creature development and also what the player will experience in the game was obviously boss creatures. And these we would just really go all out on. The schedule would suddenly relax a little, and the artist would have more time to work on them, and more polys could be spent, more texture resolution could be spent, so these were larger and more detailed, crisper, to hold up to the sizes that they were going to be in the game, because they could be just magnificent sizes in some of these dungeons. I don't want to give a lot of some of the fun stuff you'll find in the game away, but obviously some of the staples of fantasy, like dragons and giant, like aquatic boss monsters that you could fight. You'll find these all throughout the world, and the artists really look forward to being able to work on these, because it was sort of the testing of everything that you had learned building some of our smaller and more staple creatures that are obviously just as important. But these were the time when you really got to just go all out and use probably every skill set and every tool that you had figured out on the way to creating these things.
We tried to divvy them up amongst all the different character artists, and so hopefully everyone got to do one or work on some element of one, because they were just really fun to do. They were, like Brandon was saying, you get to use everything that you learned, and it was always a real charge to see that finally walking around in the game, and actually players like running in fear from these 20-foot creatures just storming around. And it's a real kick. And when you watch players reacting to the different creatures and the art that you help produce, it's really invigorating. It's really cool to see that. So kind of what keeps you going.
If you enjoy this video, please consider supporting Clever Play channel by liking, commenting, sharing, or even buying us a cup of coffee.